Hi guys, Helen the Russian here. Now this video is not about rideshare, but I thought I'll share something because that's the first time this happened to me, and I think it's quite important that everybody knows and try to prevent that happening to them. I preclude this by saying in no way is this video sponsored by anyone, especially not by Credit Karma. No one's sponsoring anything. It's just me trying to share some experience. So, as I mentioned before, I lived in Las Vegas for quite some time, and then I decided I'm gonna go and live in New Zealand for a few years, and quite deliberately knowing how important credit history is. And I always had really good, really high credit score from the day get-go. And there was another story I'll tell you later about how I learned how important it is very shortly after arriving to US, and I maintained that. So, when I left US, my credit score was like high 700s, like close to 8. In fact, at one point, I think they changed things now, but I remember at one point it was 820. And I knew I can't go back to nothing, but because I lived in New Zealand, obviously I was not doing anything in the States. But I kept, quite deliberately, I kept one credit card going, and I used it here and there. So that one credit card kind of maintained my credit history. It was the only one for nearly 10 years as it happened. So when I got back to US, credit score was lower than before, but it certainly wasn't bad. There was nothing derogatory on it. It was, I think, like 742 or whatever, only because I only used that one card and not very often. And I always pay, I talked about it before, I charge everything to the card because it's easier for accounting, but then I pay it off at the end of the month, so I don't carry any balances. And I know what my credit score is at all times. Last year, when I came to visit my girlfriend for her birthday, I already knew I'm moving back to Vegas, and I started thinking about what sort of house I would want to have when I move back. So I thought, well, I kind of need to find out what my credit score is, because I knew it was good, but knowing the actual number really helps, and that's a good bargaining chip. So when I did my research, I came across Credit Karma, which I'm sure that you all know what it is. They advertise quite a lot. I have to say, unlike so many different companies, they actually do what they say. So you sign up to Credit Karma, it's free, there is absolutely no charge, and Credit Karma monitors your credit history for you. And the way they've done it, now that I looked deeper into it a few days ago, they entered some kind of agreement with both TransUnion and Equifax, which is the two they monitor. They only monitor two, Equifax and TransUnion. And those agencies, as soon as they get any kind of new report on you, they give it to Credit Karma, and Credit Karma in turn alerts you, which is why the service is good. Yes, you can sign up to TransUnion directly and to Equifax directly and keep looking at it, but you will have to actually log on to it and monitor it yourself, while Credit Karma just sends you email notifications. So like for instance, you pay off your balance, or you made a payment, it says, we received notifications that your balance on your Chase card was paid off, and then they make some suggestions. The reason it's free, obviously they are for profit, they're making money, and I can tell you how they make money. They're not making it a secret. Once you go and look at the whole spread, they show you your credit score, they show you what factors affecting your credit score and what percentage of those are applicable to you in the most way. And then they have the whole bunch of credit cards they suggest you sign up for to improve your credit or whatever. And obviously it's sponsored by those credit cards. They pay them the fee to advertise on that site, which good on them. It's just your regular capitalism at work. Nothing wrong with that. Anyhow, so my credit score is fine, and it went up since I moved back because obviously I opened more accounts, and then I did quite a few other things. Suddenly, last Saturday, so Saturday the 13th, on a long weekend, I look at my email, I get bing email, it said from Credit Karma, and it's right there on the top. I can see how the email starts. It says, you have a missed payment. And I'm in a mild state of panic because I'm very careful with my money and I'm very good with numbers. I don't ever miss any payments. Never mind, I don't do them late, never mind miss. And I don't have that many payments either. So I go, because Credit Karma gives you the link to actually go on the Credit Karma site that shows you score. And I'm absolutely horrified when I see it, because I can see that my TransUnion score dropped the whole 101 point. And Credit Karma said in initial email, you have a missed payment. But yet I cannot find it on that Credit Karma report. Everything I click on everything, nothing. All my balances on credit cards are zero, nothing is happening. And I'm like, what is this? So I sent email to Credit Karma going, could you explain this? And that part, well, they're like everybody else, it's just a canned response, like, oh, a lot of factors affect your score, it could drop for many reasons. But I'm thinking, no, it said that there was a missed payment reported. I want to know which missed payment, like for what account, because they didn't say and it wasn't stated. Well, now I know why, because it was fresh. It said it came from TransUnion. So then I signed up to TransUnion right then and there to see my in-depth report on that site specifically. And lo and behold, right, once I signed up and they opened up the report, right, one of the first accounts, it says, all my the way it starts goes adverse account, which is account that supposedly I missed the payment, and then they go accounts in good standing. So adverse account, which account was supposedly was the problem, is my car financing, the car that was totaled in an accident in September. And it was paid. It was paid in full by my insurance, and I know it was paid. I verified it with Kia. It was with Kia Motors financing. So this is the funny thing. Well, not funny, haha, but very interesting. Right there on the report, you can see what the initial amount of the financing was, what the payments were in what months, and then it shows correctly that account was paid off, and it show on October the 2nd, and then it shows in the first column all the zeros, like balance is zero, previous payment is zero, and remaining balance is zero. And yet instead of it should have a green window that says okay, instead of shows 30, meaning 30 days late, so missed payment. And because it was Saturday evening, and of course next day was Sunday, and today is Martin Luther King Day, everybody's closed, and you can file online the dispute with TransUnion, and I've done that straight away. But tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, I'm gonna call TransUnion first, because I can tell you there could be two different situations here. One, TransUnion's system somehow glitched and just made a mistake, because you could, like I said, even if you just look at it, it's obvious that the balances are zero. There are no payments to be made. So somehow the system glitched. But it could be more complicated than that. It could be that Kia Motors, despite listing my balance as zero and amount paid off, did not close out my account, there are two different things. And sometimes when they do that, the computer, because remember, computer doesn't have a brain. Computer needs to see what it's programmed to see. It doesn't think. It does what people program it to do. So computer did not, because account is open and the meant to be payments coming in, every month on a certain date, the payment did not come in, and zero doesn't count. And because there is a zero balance, there is no payment coming in, and so computer automatically kicked off no payment, and that was reported through TransUnion, and they now, that seriously affected my credit. I am truly hoping I will be able to remedy the situation fairly quickly, but I'll keep you posted, because honestly, sometimes it gets quite tedious and complicated. And I've had not quite this bad, but similar situation in the past, when I took a line of home equity credit with Bank of America on my house that was paid for, and initially it was very easy process. I loved it. I called them, it was all done on the phone, it was all approved. I went to the bank, I had an appointment, signed the papers, easy peasy, money was available straight away, and I only needed money to do one real estate transaction really quick. And I paid the whole thing off within 3 months, because I knew I'm just gonna do this, get my money, and then be done, right? Well, I've done that, And I guess I was naive back then, and I didn't realize the fact that you paid off the balance does not mean that the bank closed out your line of credit. They took your money and they listed as zero. It does not affect your credit adversely, but it's an open line of credit until you specifically and in writing requested the line be closed. So because my house was paid for, like I didn't think anything about it. I went to New Zealand. I was renting my house for quite a few years. And so I never really worried about it and never even thought about it. And it's another thing they did quite insidiously is it was not showing on the recorder's page because I looked at my recorder's page all the time to make sure my tenants paid the garbage bill, because the Republic tends to lien the house straight away when the bill is not paid. They don't care who's supposed to pay it. It's not their problem. They put a lien on the house and that's the end of that. So it was not on the recorder's page, that line of credit. I couldn't see it. Anyhow, I go to sell my house back in 2013, and lo and behold, everything is in escrow. Title office calls me and they go, well, there is a problem. There is this line of credit that's open from Bank of America attached to your house, and it needs to be closed before we transfer the title. Well, obviously, because I can draw from that line of credit if it's open. So that's when things got really tricky. I called Bank of America, and initially from New Zealand, and I spoke to the guy who confirmed. It took him forever because at this stage, that line of credit was almost like 9 years old, untouched. So it took him forever and ever, and I couldn't remember any numbers. I didn't have account number. I thought it was long closed. So he looked and looked. Well, see, now I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute why the whole thing was really fishy, and I would never do business with Bank of America again. He claimed that he had found it, and he claimed he's gonna, and I explained to him why it's important that we close it straight away because I'm selling the house and I'm all the way in New Zealand. And he claimed he's gonna sort it out and everything is gonna be done and it's gonna take 5 business days. Well, in the meantime, I'm glad I made that decision. I decided to fly back here to close on the deal in person instead of doing it remotely, because that's another thing I found. When you're overseas, you can't just notarize the papers. You have to notarize them in US Embassy. That's the only place that can notarize the papers for the sale of your property. And US Embassy in New Zealand was asking for an appointment 3 weeks out, and it just wasn't working. My sale was quick. It was a cash sale. 3 weeks wasn't gonna work. So I bought a ticket and I flew back to Vegas, and that's when things got hairy, because I went to the closest Bank of America branch to investigate what stage are we at. Well, they start looking into it and they have no record of me talking on the phone to any guy only a week prior. They just don't. And then they tell me that when you call, the call could be picked up in any of those call centers nationwide, and they have no way of knowing which one I got and who the guy was. And they said, well, there are no record of it, no notes, your line of credit is open. And they, although that I hate being aggressive like that, but they were just refusing to. They said they'll do it, but they said, oh, this takes about a month. I'm like, I don't have a month. I need to close on the house. We're doing it right now. It has to be done right now. What's the issue? I paid it. They go, oh, no. It's not a question of that being paid. That's definitely paid and that's no problem. But we have to file appropriate paperwork. It's gonna have to get recorded. And we only record once every 2 weeks, which means I can spell it. I used to sell real estate, so I can tell you what it is. They basically, instead of, they have low-level person, like minimum wage person, probably employed as a clerk. And so they compile, that's why they do it once every 2 weeks. So there is enough paperwork to go and record everything all at once, instead of hand-walking every and each file whenever it comes up. So that's what I was telling them, because I knew that. I said, have them walk it. Just have them walk it. But the problem is, where all that paperwork and everything is happening was not in Nevada at all. That was elsewhere, and it was a big ragged mess. I had to start threatening them with lawsuits, and they were just offering me these letters, and like, the letter is not going to solve anything, but ultimately I had to. They had a letter. I went to title company and they said, okay, if they put this particular wording, then we can go ahead and go in with the deal and close on your house and transfer the title, and that letter is enough to verify that they will indeed close that line of credit and record it in certain time, which they ended up doing nearly 2 weeks after I closed on the house. But that's, now you understand why I'm now thinking about this whole Kia Motors things and what's going on with that missed payment and whatnot. So I will get down to it, hopefully get down to the bottom of it tomorrow, first thing in the morning, and then I'll do another video and I'll keep you posted. But the whole bottom line of it, Credit Karma, fantastic thing, sign up. Because had I not been signed up for that, honestly, like I said, I know all my accounts, I know I pay everything on time, I would have never known. So that would have been on my report, unbeknown to me, and because I wouldn't know, it probably, I'm guessing from 30 days, it would go 60 days late, 90 days late, whatever, delinquent, and then it would be really, really hard to fix. And now I'm getting on it straight away, everything is fresh. Apparently, TransUnion just reported that late payment to Credit Karma on January 13. So hopefully I will be able to sort it out. But yeah, definitely monitor your credit. Like I said, Credit Karma is free. Checking your credit score on Credit Karma does not lower your credit score. It doesn't affect it. So do it. That's my advice. Have a nice one, everybody.